Hello, this example comes from our textbook, and we're going to still practice finding regression lines, but we're going to use Excel this time. Make note, I am by no means an Excel master, but I have some skills and enough to get by. The best way to learn Excel is just to click around until you find what you need to find. Or you can Google YouTube videos, and they're usually pretty helpful tutorials about how to do things. Okay, so first things first, I need all of my data in Excel, so I've already done that. It is all here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the scatter diagram. In order to do that, I highlight both columns, and I'm going to insert a chart. In this case, it's a scatter plot, and there it is. There's my chart. I don't know why it chose ceiling as the title and not one of the axes labels. It does weird things sometimes. But if I click this plus, I can add axes titles. So at least I can type in that area. I can add a legend if I wanted to. And most importantly, I can add a trend line. So you can see the trend line gives me this line. I want to click linear. And then I want to click on more options. Because for me, more options will allow me to do a couple things. One, it'll allow me to display the R value on the chart and display the equation on the chart. R squared isn't really something we've talked about, but R is important. So if we square root R squared, then we would get R. I can also make it forecast forwards and backwards. So I'm going to add 100 points forwards and then 200 points backwards. And that will make my line extend a little bit further. All right, here is my equation. So you can see that was the trend line for my data. So in order to calculate R, I need to square root that number. So I'm going to write R squared down here. If I spell it right. And I'm going to type in that value, 0.7058, and then I'm going to have R beneath it. And I'm going to tell my Excel to square root that. So anytime I want to tell it to do a calculation, I start with equals. Then I'm going to SQRT because that is the formula for square rooting. And then I click on the cell where the number is that I want to square root, close my parentheses, and hit enter. There is my R value. Sweet. Okay, part C. Describe the association between maximum speed and ceiling. There is a positive correlation between those two. Using technology to find the regression line, draw the line on your scatter diagram. Already did that. Thank you, technology. State and interpret the gradient of the regression line. So from my equation, the gradient up here is 0.0081. My X values were maximum speed. I'm going to go ahead and change that on my chart. And my Y values were ceiling. So I'm changing that just so I have it. And what this tells me is that as max speed increases, the ceiling also increases. And I can say, therefore, the change in the ceiling is related to the change in the max speed. So change in Y over change in X. If there is a change of 0.0018 in the ceiling per 1 kilometer per hour of speed. So that's how that works. Part F, estimate the ceiling for a fighter plane with a maximum speed of 600. So I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to take my data. So A, that was our slope, 0.0081. B is our intercept. That was 6.0901. And here is where I can make some calculations. So if I have that stuff already set up, I can write an equation where if I put in a value like 600, because that's what they, not 6,000, 600, I can write an equation for that. So this is going to be equal to the A value times, and that's the little star, the X value plus the B value. So I just wrote the equation y equals mx plus b, and there is my solution. If I want to do it backwards, then let me so let me change that. Actually, I'm going to move this formula over to here where I said solve for y. Now let's do solve for x. So in this case, I am going to work backwards. So I have my y value here. So we're going to do equal whatever's in here. And then we are going to add the opposite. So let's just subtract our b value. And let me put that in parentheses so that I can do order of operations. And I'm going to divide by our a value. So all I did is I just did mental math of our equation backwards. So whatever's in the y value is going to be, I'm going to subtract my b value. And then I'm going to divide by my a value. So that just undoes everything and gives me x. This is going to return an error right now because there's nothing, or 0, because there's nothing in the y. But as soon as I put a data in there, I should get something. So they said in question G, estimate the maximum speed for a fighter plane with a ceiling of 11 kilometers. So I type in 11 there. And this would be the maximum speed. So there's lots of different things that you can do with Excel. These are just some of the examples. I hope that you will play around and find some stuff.